This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. I went to pick up my girlfriend from work, and I found her laughing and chatting with a male colleague. When he saw me, he made a gesture that every man understands. I questioned my girlfriend about who he was, and she said he was just an ordinary colleague. I asked her if an ordinary colleague would make a gesture like that towards me. During our struggle, a box of emergency contraceptive pills fell out of her bag. Today, while I was out running errands, I passed by my girlfriend's company and decided to pick her up after work. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows on the first floor, I saw her chatting and laughing with a male colleague. I pulled out my phone ready to call her, when I noticed that guy making a gesture as if he were pulling a ponytail towards me. I can only say the guys understand. I instantly felt anger rising within me, just as I was about to charge in and teach that guy a lesson. A security guard at the company entrance stopped me. "Who are you looking for?" I pointed inside, but honestly, I didn't even know that guy's name. Just then Alice spotted me and quickly walked out. I pointed at the man's back and asked her, "Who is that guy?" She glared at me. "Rocky, have you lost your mind? What are you doing causing a scene at my workplace?" I'm asking who that man is. I barely managed to hold back my urge to curse. "What's wrong with you during the day? If you're not embarrassed, I'm still trying to keep my reputation." Alice said, her face stiffening as she huffed and turned away. I didn't know how to explain the meaning of pulling a ponytail, so I hurried after her. "Don't be mad, I won't cause trouble anymore. But I'm serious, that guy isn't a good person. Stay away from him in the future." Alice turned around and couldn't help but burst into laughter. She turned back, took my hand, and playfully shook it. "Actually, you're just jealous, right? He's just an ordinary colleague, a new guy. He seems pretty honest. My boss asked me to share part of my project with him." Oh, she might not see through men, but being one myself, I could see right through it. However, at this moment, saying more would only make me sound petty. So I reached out and pulled her into my embrace. "Today is the quarterly bonus distribution. Let's go to that restaurant you love tonight." After dinner, I found myself lost in thought as I stared at the number on the bill. 8,000. It would be a lie to say it didn't hurt, but I have no regrets. After all, Alice likes it. I'm just a rookie lawyer, with no connections or background. My profession heavily relies on resources, so I'm currently not doing so well. Alice is much better than me. Not only is she stunning, but her family is well off as well. Her parents run a company that's quite reputable in our city. Right after graduation, she entered one of the leading companies at her parents' arrangement, with a starting salary that's double mine. To be honest, I often feel insecure, but she told me that she lacks nothing, just someone who genuinely cares for her. So I tried my best to treat her well. I saw a newly launched handbag in her collection folder. I wasn't familiar with the brand, so I showed it to the women at the office. They said it would cost several tens of thousands. Initially, my quarterly bonus would barely cover it, but after that big dinner, I found myself short on cash. Fortunately, my salary for this month is about to come in. Once it does, I should be fine. I bought a bunch of near-expiration instant noodles from an online store to have for lunch at the office. One day, while I was in the break room preparing my noodles, the HR manager walked in, wrinkling her brow at first. What a strong smell. When she saw it was me, she smiled. "Rocky, are you having lunch?" I nodded and moved aside. She made coffee while stealing glances at me. "Rocky, is this what you're having for lunch?" "Yeah, nothing much that I want to eat, just making do." As she walked a few steps away with her coffee cup, she turned back. "Boss Haley will be coming soon. She's very sensitive to smells. You'd better deal with that odor." Haley is our law firm's boss. In my memory, she is a young and beautiful woman who doesn't smile easily. She rarely comes to the office, so my impression of her is stuck on her scolding others with a cold expression, arms crossed, nostrils flaring as she berates a big man who's as red as a beet. But that man being scolded isn't exactly an angel either. He's quite capable, but he's also cunning and malicious, with a heart darker than the blackheads on his nose. After the HR manager left, I lost my appetite. I opened the door and window to air out the room, and even asked the cleaning lady for air freshener to spray everywhere. I took a deep sniff and confirmed that the smell of sauerkraut beef noodles was completely gone. During the afternoon meeting, as soon as Haley entered the room, she sneezed several times in a row. With a grim look, she ordered her assistant, "Go ask the cleaning department why there's a smell of the bathroom in the break room. Who allowed them to spray bathroom air freshener in there?" I recalled her scolding demeanor and instinctively stood up. No need to ask, it was me who sprayed it. Upon hearing this, she crossed her arms, leaning against the table and sizing me up. "Are you the new cleaner?" I stood there in shock, not knowing how to respond. She glanced at me. "You seem to enjoy cleaning so much. I'll have HR manager Edward arrange for you to transfer to the cleaning department after this." Not sure how serious she was, I hesitated to reply. Only when I noticed everyone else in the conference room trying to stifle their laughter did I realize, oh, she's mocking me. Fine, as long as my salary isn't deducted, she can say whatever she wants. After all, I am in dire need of money. Preserving my paycheck is the most important thing. Haley was here to land a major client and was personally overseeing the tasks. Fortunately, she seemed busy today, so after giving her instructions, she whisked away without having time to scrutinize me. Unfortunately, I was assigned to Jack's team, the very man whose deceitful nature rivals the blackheads on his nose. Tomorrow is Alice's birthday, but for some reason, my salary hasn't been credited this month. It's already been delayed for 2 days. Since I started my job, this is the first time it's ever happened. I had no choice but to muster the courage to ask the finance department. The finance staff looked apologetic, saying that a new accountant had mistakenly locked the USB security key, and we needed to go to the bank to unlock it. Not wanting to create trouble for myself, I reluctantly left the office, only to run into Jack and a few colleagues. "Hey, isn't that Rocky?" He greeted me with a forced smile. "Here to remind you about your salary. Seems like you're a bit short on cash lately. Want me to lend you some?" "Thanks, but no." I turned to leave. "Come on, no need to be shy. I'm just thinking about the company. If your salary is delayed, it could affect your mood and efficiency at work. After all, new business isn't going too smoothly. And Haley, the boss, has asked me several times." I knew he was just trying to make someone else the scapegoat. He had figured out how to find cracks to exploit in conversations. The best way to deal with people like him is to talk less. The more I say, the more vulnerabilities I reveal. I planned to buy Alice her favorite strawberry cake the next day, and then I would use my credit card to buy her the handbag she liked on the brand's official website. Although it would take 2 days to be delivered, it would make for a pleasant surprise. The next day I specifically took half a day off and went to the famous dessert shop in the east of the city to queue for the cake. After waiting for 2 hours, my legs felt like they were about to lose all sensation. Once I had the cake, I rushed to Alice's company, spending my last 200 yuan on a taxi from the east side to the west to avoid damaging the cake. This time I was smarter. I offered a cigarette to the security guard. "Sir, do you remember me? My girlfriend works here. Oh, by the way, here's my business card. Actually, we've discussed potential cooperation with your company." The security guard didn't give me a hard time this time, handing me a form. "Just fill it out. You can write business visit." "Okay, thanks, sir." I signed my name grandly and dashed toward the elevator. Alice's company had an impressive core, with corridors lined with dazzling floor-to-ceiling windows. At her office door, I saw a man holding a 3-tier strawberry cake approaching her. She smiled shyly, leaning her head on his shoulder amid the teasing laughter of her colleagues. I recognized that guy, the one who had once made gestures at me, like he was trying to grab a ponytail. I pushed the door open and walked straight in, throwing a punch right at the guy's face. He stumbled. Strawberries and cream splattered all over him. "What the hell do you want?" he shouted angrily, pointing a finger at my nose. But I didn't want to waste my breath on him. I just wanted to land a punch on that big, annoying, garlic-shaped nose of his. At that moment, Alice stepped in front of the man. "Rocky, you going crazy in front of my company wasn't enough. Now you come to my office and act up. Can you stop bothering me? We've already broken up." I was like, her words shocked me into forgetting the punch. What the hell was happening? Had I time traveled or lost my memory? Why the hell couldn't I remember breaking up with Alice? Seeing the expressions on her colleagues' faces, there was panic, but mostly disdain. Oh, it turned out the clown was really me. While I was stunned, the guy swung a fist and hit me right in the face. Caught off guard, I spun around, then fell flat on the ground like a dog. "You hit me first. Now I'm just hitting back. If you leave now, I won't hold you responsible. Today is Alice's birthday. I can't be bothered to argue with you." The guy smirked, wearing a look that begged for a punch, maybe afraid I'd retaliate. Alice's face turned pale, and she quickly rushed to block me. I loved her so much, yet she willingly became a human shield for someone else. I glanced at the cake I had bought after 2 hours of waiting. Now it lay on the ground, a mess, completely ruined. Nearby on Alice's desk, there was that expensive handbag worth thousands, and the latest high-spec Apple phone, still in its packaging. "Just go, before someone calls the police," she said softly but firmly. I just walked out of the Alice company entrance, and she chased after me from behind. I thought she wanted to say something, but she just took out the keys from her bag and handed them to me. "What is this game you're playing with me? That greasy guy has nostrils big enough to fit 2 bundles of green onions. What do you even see in him?" I finally couldn't help but ask. She stood there silent. "Speak up. If you don't like me anymore, you could have told me earlier. You're over there seeing someone new, while still stringing me along. What the hell is going on?" Alice's eyes turned red, and she softly said sorry to me. "Rocky, I still like you, but waiting for you to get your act together is just too slow. I can't wait any longer." I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. "So in the end you just think I'm broke? You should have said that sooner. You didn't have to say things like your family is well off and missing nothing. You wasted 2 years of my youth." Alice's face turned beet red, her chest heaving with emotion. "You don't have to be sarcastic with me. My family is fine, but my parents are content with a modest life. Is it wrong for me to want to break through the class ceiling on my own. Hey, she was really getting worked up. The security guard at the entrance was peeking over again. I pulled her aside, wanting to find a quieter place to talk, but she reflexively swung her hand, accidentally tossing her bag. It landed right in front of me. A white box dropped at my feet. The bold letters on it pierced my eyes. Emergency contraceptive using. I knew about this. It's only effective if taken within 72 hours after, and I knew this stuff was harmful. I always paid attention and never let her use it. Ha ha ha, damn. The fool was actually me. I touched my face and realized I was really smiling. You're obviously not in the wrong. Striving to improve yourself. I respect your choice, but don't ever say you like me again. That's just disgusting. The next day, I almost arrived late for work. When I sprinted to the entrance, I was surprised to see Haley's car in front of the gate. She actually came to the office early, which was quite rare. As I stepped into the office area right on time, I noticed everyone was like ostriches, cowering and hiding their heads in their cubicles. What's going on here? As soon as I dropped my bag, Edward from the next cubicle popped his head out, startling me. Looks like the boss Haley brought a problematic order. She's panicking and rushed over early. He gestured towards the president's office, and after seeing my face, he exclaimed, "What did you do last night? You look terrible." I didn't sleep well last night. I quickly changed the subject. What were you saying? What's wrong with the order? That big order Haley brought in. We thought it was a sure thing, but there's been a snag, and it seems the competition is trying to steal it. What snag? Beats me, how would I know? Edward pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose. I wish I knew. After all, it concerns everyone's bonuses for the second half of the year. Just then, Haley's office door swung open. A pair of long legs and high heels stepped out. She walked into the office area, scanning the room. Then she beckoned me with her finger. "Rocky, come here." I widened my eyes. She actually knew my name. Then I instinctively asked Edward, "Did I arrive late?" "I came in just on time." That fool Edward had already shrunk his head back and remained silent. I stepped into Haley's office bewildered. She nodded at me. "Have a seat." As I was about to sit down, I suddenly noticed her wrinkling her nose in disgust. I quickly powered my thighs and squeezed my butt, standing back up instead. "I'll just stand. I didn't arrive late. I came in right on time." "What's that smell on you?" She completely ignored my remark, instead looking annoyed, took out a bottle of perfume from the drawer and started spraying around. What else could it be? A mix of smoke and alcohol. That was indeed my fault. I drank too much yesterday, woke up late today, and had no time to find fresh clothes before rushing in. Seeing that I had nothing to say, she continued, "Nothing major. I just want to check on the employee's work status. How are you cooperating with your team leader, Edward?" "Pretty good." "Has he gone over the project details with you?" "He has." "Is that whole box of instant noodles in the break room yours?" A million thoughts raced through my mind. Why would a company president care about such things? Is she bored? But I honestly admitted, "Yes, they're mine. Oh, by the way, this month's salary was delayed by 2 days due to a new accountant's mistake. It will be distributed this afternoon." "No way." I was going to ask about the salary and she already knew. Fortunately, she didn't say anything more and let me leave. I entered with a head full of questions and exited with even more confusion. Edward had a mischievous grin. "Wait, she's paying this much attention to you. Does she have a crush on you?" "Crush my foot. Do me a favor and stop cursing me. If you want me dead, just say it." I laughed with Edward, but my intuition told me it couldn't be that simple. Haley came back a few more times, each visit more distressing than the last. Everyone worked cautiously, walking on eggshells, and I sensed something was off. It wasn't just the new client, even the old ones. Those whose contracts were nearing renewal clearly felt a pushback in progress. Finally, one day, I was once again summoned to the president's office. This time it was Jack calling for me. "Rocky, the company hasn't treated you poorly, has it?" Jack looked at me gravely and said, "Why did you secretly undermine the company?" Huh. I was taken aback by the accusation. "Stop playing dumb. We've been investigating this for a while." Haley remained silent, simply raising an eyebrow at me. "What have I undermined? Be clear." Once I regained my composure, I felt anger bubbling up. "What are you talking about? You contacted the competing company privately and provided them with our detailed proposal and pricing, didn't you? And for the previous partners, you picked out those whose contracts were about to expire and bundled them for the competitor, right?" "I didn't do that." "Without evidence, this is slander." "Of course we have evidence." Haley finally spoke. She threw a brown paper envelope in front of me. "Someone sent this to my house." I opened it to find my business card and a visitor registration form inside. At the top was Alice's company name, and the form clearly recorded my company and the purpose of my visit, with my flamboyant signature below. Wasn't this the day I signed for Alice's birthday? I was in such a hurry that I left the date blank, not knowing some reckless person would fill it in. Is this all? My business cards are everywhere. Can this count as evidence? Haley tossed me a contract. "You signed this too." I compared the handwriting. "You tell me if that's your signature." Damn, it really was my signature. I explained I want to see a friend, and Haley asked, "Can that friend vouch for you?" I recalled the harsh words I'd spoken to Alice that day. Our relationship was completely shattered. How could she possibly vouch for me? Besides, what could she testify to? Would she explain how I rushed to deliver a cake only to get sidelined? Seeing that I had nothing to say, she pressed further. I heard you've been short on money lately. That completely enraged me. Money, money, money. These women couldn't talk about anything else, each thinking they were so clever. What I need money for is none of your business. I do my job for the salary I receive. I fulfill my responsibilities. Jack cleared his throat appropriately. Haley Rocky is part of my team. I also take responsibility for not noticing these issues. Even though he's been off lately, he generally performs well. How about giving him another chance? Haley shook her head, fixating on me. Do you know what I despise most? I can't stand those who bite the hand that feeds them. If you think the salary is too low, you can negotiate. But that's not a reason to betray the company. I finally understood. Clearly there was a problem with the project. To save his own skin, Jack had thrown me under the bus. Haley the fool hadn't been to the company in ages and believed everything this guy reported. Lately I'd been feeling low, dragging myself to this awful job every day, especially under Jack's supervision. Seeing his ambivalent face made my already bad mood worse. I flung my work badge onto her desk. Do you know what I despise the most? I detest arrogant know-it-all leaders. Whoever wants to be in this messed-up team can do, so I'm not serving anyone anymore. It felt good to vent, but in the end I lost my job. I had paid 3 months' rent, and there was only 1 month left. I glanced at the unopened delivery box at the door. Inside was the bag I bought for Alice, which had arrived the day after we broke up. It was quite ironic. If I had discovered it just 1 day earlier, I wouldn't have become such a fool. But right now I needed to eat and pay the rent. This bag wasn't going to feed me, so I might as well sell it. The price offered by the secondhand luxury store moved me deeply. Even though it was a brand new, unopened complete set, they would only buy it back at 60% of the price, simply because it wasn't a collectible item and the current secondhand luxury market was terrible. The cut was painful like a knife to my heart. I could only silently take the bag home, list it on a secondhand app, and start frantically searching for a job. I received quite a few interview offers, but very few were satisfactory. They were either too far away or had unbearable work intensity, or the pay was too low. That evening I returned from an interview at a suburban company, hungry, and passed by a convenience store behind my former company, where I decided to grab some Odin. As I ate the warm Odin looking at the extremely familiar office building, I couldn't help but feel nostalgic. Even though the leadership at my former company had their flaws, the compensation was decent. While I was eating, I suddenly saw 3 thuggish-looking men cornering a woman in a nearby alley, and that woman's figure looked oddly familiar. She resembled Haley. I put down my chopsticks and followed those men into the alley. The 3 men were pushing Haley against the wall, hurling insults at her. Come on, you're not going to cry until you see the coffin, huh? Is money more important than your life? Boss, Haley is so rich, just a little bit from her should be enough for us. Can't even manage that. Haley said something, and the blonde one instantly exploded with rage. You think I won't strip you and post it online? Let the H family see you well. Saying that, he lunged forward, trying to rip Haley's clothes, while the other 2 men laughed maliciously beside him. Even though I didn't have a good impression of Haley, watching 3 bastards bully a woman and standing by was not what a man should do. I picked up a stone and rushed at the blonde guy, hitting him with a powerful punch. He was sent flying and landed right in a nearby trash heap. I shielded Haley behind me. 3 grown men picking on a woman, have some shame. You little punk, you think you can take us all on. Where are the other 3? I glanced at the blonde lying in the trash pile. After receiving my heavy punch, he couldn't even stand up. The other 2 realized something was wrong and quickly helped him up and fled. Haley stepped out from behind me. Thank you. The next moment, what's that smell on you? Having never seen Odin before, was this rich person really someone who never ate at convenience stores? I tossed the stone aside. Did you drive here? Let me take you to your car. Only then did she notice my hand. Oh no, you're bleeding. It's nothing. I don't like being in someone's debt. Here's some cash for you. Go to the hospital, she said, pulling out a wad of bills from her wallet. Looks like there are still people carrying so much cash nowadays. Who should I rob if not her? No need, it'll be fine in a couple of days, I declined. How about this? Would you come back to work? Good jobs are hard to find now, she suggested. Recalling the recent failures in my interviews, I got angry again. You let me go, but now you want me back. Am I a dog to you? Do you women really think money can solve every problem? Seeing her black Bentley just ahead, I turned and walked away. Even if a penny can defeat a hero, I won't bow down to her. Fortunately, after half a month, I found a new job. The pay was about the same as my previous company, though it was a small one. There are benefits to working in a small company. The relationships are relatively simple, and the boss takes good care of me. The bag I posted on the secondhand website finally sold. A buyer came along, and without haggling paid 90 of the price, relieving my immediate financial stress. My life finally showed some signs of improvement. My dad called again to pressure me about marriage. When he learned I had broken broken up with Alice. He was furious and scolded me. What kind of woman do you think you can find with your demeanor? She was gentle and came from a good family. I just want someone who won't betray me. My dad fell silent for a long while after hearing that. In the end, it was my mom who sighed and took the phone. Son, if things are really tough, just come home. I refused to go back. I wouldn't admit defeat. Being alone wherever I was didn't mean I was losing. There are many opportunities in big cities. I couldn't believe I couldn't make a name for myself. I threw myself into my work, humbly learning from my seniors. In just 6 months, I secured several contracts and was even named an outstanding employee. But sadly, the good times didn't last. A year later, my boss decided to dissolve the company. He was returning to his hometown. It was then he told me that an elderly family member was ill, and he had to go back to take care of them. He suggested I go back to work for Haley, saying he couldn't help me anymore. That's when I realized it was Haley who had recommended me for the interview in the first place. Don't misunderstand. Haley knows I need someone, and she recommended you. She said your business skills are commendable. It turns out you really are good. Just right, you should go help her out. It hasn't been easy for her either, my boss said, lighting a cigarette and shaking his head. I immediately grew curious. What happened to Haley? Recalling the trouble she had in the alley with some thugs, I wondered if she ended up with a bad man. I started sending out resumes online again. After half a month, still no satisfactory responses. Then I received a call from Haley. Stop being stubborn, come back to work. I'm not going. Fine, I'll give in. Just come to the company once. I have something to say to you. After you listen, you can decide whether or not to return. Her tone softened for once. When I arrived at the company, I learned that Jack, that old fox, had been fired. I asked Edward about it, and he said mysteriously that he didn't know the specifics. But anyway, shortly after I left the boss, Haley fired him. When I entered the president's office, she was waiting for me in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. I know you've been uncomfortable about what happened before, so I wanted to clarify it with you today. There was indeed an insider at the company, drawing a salary while selling out the company for personal gain. It's partly my fault. I haven't monitored the company well due to my busy family matters. So the last time I assigned tasks, I intentionally scrambled the shared information so that the content for your group was different in details from another group. As a result, the insider overlooked it, and I successfully pinpointed your group. When I started my investigation, I received that evidence. I was about to speak when she waved her hand at me. I know what you want to say, don't rush, let me finish. I know that so-called evidence isn't crucial, but it's clear that someone was anxious to pin the blame on someone else. So I played along pretending it was you, to make the other party let their guard down. So it's not because you saved me that I want you back, but because this was originally your position. I wanted to explain before, but you were too upset, and your attitude towards me wasn't friendly. Now I finally have the chance to clarify things. The boss also told me that your business skills have improved rapidly. If it weren't for his elder being seriously ill, he would have definitely groomed you into a key player. In conclusion, I would like to invite you back to work. Her tone was sincere, and her choice of words was quite clever. An invitation. Wasn't that equivalent to her begging me to come back? Although I didn't say much, I felt a bit pleased inside. When I saw the salary marked on the contract sent by HR, I couldn't help but sign it. Business is business, there's no shame in it. Even though she invited me back, I did not lower my demands at all. Perhaps because she had suffered losses before. She now took matters into her own hands and focused on the business, coming to the office nearly every day. If she wasn't there in the morning, she would definitely be working late. One night, I was at home preparing the documents I needed for the next morning, when suddenly my computer crashed, and no matter how many times I restarted it, it wouldn't work. I had no choice but to return to the office to get my work laptop. When I arrived at the office downstairs, I noticed that the lights on our floor were still on. I was the last to leave today. When I left, the office area was completely empty. Had I forgotten to turn off the lights? Thankfully, I came to get my computer tonight, otherwise I would definitely be scolded by the office manager tomorrow. With that thought, I took out my door card and entered the company. After grabbing my laptop, I was about to turn off the lights when I suddenly heard a commotion. It was coming from the president's office. The blinds facing the office area weren't completely closed and left a small gap. I leaned closer and saw that the guy inside, who was banging the desk and shouting, was the same guy from before with the blonde hair. But this wasn't outside, it was inside the company. And there was security downstairs. If this blonde guy could get in, it must have been with Haley's permission. Upon closer inspection, the kid actually had decent features, but he emitted a sense of being a punk. I heard him cursing foully, calling names like foul bitch and whore. Haley on the opposite side had red and swollen eyes, clearly having just cried. As the words coming from the blonde guy became more and more vulgar, I couldn't take it anymore. Usually this woman was quite sharp-tongued when reprimanding her subordinates. Why was she like a mute now? I suddenly pushed the door open, startling the guy. I didn't give him a chance to react, and I quickly twisted twisted his hand behind his back, causing him to grimace in pain, gasping and begging for mercy, looking utterly pathetic. Haley, let's not talk about anything else, but your taste in men is lacking. Why are you still tangled up with this loser? Ouch, it hurts like hell. Is this guy your kept boy? Let him go, it hurts. What was happening? I was confused, but I tightened my grip. Who the hell are you cursing at? Who is this kept boy? I'm sorry, brother-in-law, you're my brother-in-law. The blonde guy cried out even louder. At that moment, Haley wiped her eyes. He's my brother, let him go. As I released him, the blonde guy immediately bolted out like oil on fire. Peter was actually Haley's half-brother. Her father had a marriage with his previous wife that was a prestigious union, but the two of them never got along. After the divorce, Haley's father married his second wife, and they had Haley together. Haley's mother was a former employee of her father's company, and their relationship was a normal romance. However, the ex-wife insisted that Haley's mother was a mistress who climbed the social ladder, and that Haley was born from a woman of bad character. The ex-wife had a son, which is why the H family still referred to her as sister-in-law. They gave her everything they were supposed to, and Peter and his mother also received a portion of the company shares. But Peter, being young and reckless, squandered his allowance, made a bunch of bad friends, and learned how to gamble. When he lost all his money, he would ask his family for more. Recently, after his mother passed away, he went to ask Haley's father for money, creating such a scene that he ended up in the hospital. His logic was simple. Haley, you and your mother are both thieves. Your mother stole my dad from me, and you stole the life that was rightfully mine. I ended up like this, so why should you have it easy? No way. So now he had his sights set on Haley, constantly looking for opportunities to extort money from her. The reason she had been so busy was that both her parents had fallen ill, and they were both in the hospital. She had never called the police, fearing that the news of her brother's arrest would tarnish the family business, and she was more worried about aggravating her father, whose condition was already serious. As we talked about this, we were in a small tavern drinking. The quiet autumn night in the northern city was eerie and desolate, and with the wind blowing, dry yellow leaves rolled along the roadside. Haley downed a drink, and a hint of color returned to her previously pale face. Now I understood what the previous owner meant when he said, "It's not easy for her. If I could, I would really like to escape from this chaotic family," she said, resting her forehead on her hand, her long bangs hiding her eyes. But they couldn't mask the tears that fell like rain. I had always thought wealthy people were too busy enjoying life, who had time to fight with each other. But now it seemed those family dramas had a real side too. Hey, I opened my mouth, but didn't know how to comfort her. After all, we lived in two different worlds. Do you think I'm just whining for no reason? She hastily wiped her tears. Most people think that. So I've never said these things to anyone. Today, I lost my composure. I took a sip of my drink. I advise you, instead of worrying about this or that, why not let yourself feel good first, and everything else can go to hell. After saying this, I scratched my head. Well, I always thought that having money would solve most problems in the world, but now I see how narrow-minded I was. She paused for a moment and tentatively asked me, "By the way, you seem to be short on cash before. Don't get me wrong, I mean no offense. I just want to know if there's anything I can help you with." I downed the drink in my glass. Back then I was dating someone and really needed money, but then I thought it was my own overestimating my circumstances. The bags she liked were worth tens of thousands, and here I was just a poor kid. What was I thinking? Ugh, this drink wasn't great, and after finishing it my throat felt a bit blocked. She sighed and handed me a pair of warm skewers. "Eat something warm, it'll make you feel better." Let me speak on behalf of many women. Not all women are like that. You need to open your eyes and really look. You'll find someone eventually. After she said that, she smiled sweetly at me. Under the dim yellow light of the tavern, the corners of her eyes still held some unshed tears, and they twinkled, making her look especially lovable. "Thank you for your kind words," I responded softly, my heart skipping a beat. I rubbed my cheeks vigorously. I felt flushed. I must have had too much to drink. "It's getting late. Let me call a taxi to take you home," I said, standing up to grab my coat, not daring to look into her eyes again. The next morning, Haley didn't come to the office. I felt a bit uneasy, worried that her infuriating brother had gone after her again. Just as I was hesitating over whether to call her call came in first. Peter had been caught gambling. She had just gone to the police station to handle the procedures, and she would be back at the office soon. Hearing her cheerful tone, I teased, "What's this, not worried about the negative impact on your dad's company?" She laughed on the other end. "I've realized the one who should feel guilty is him. Why should I worry about it? Besides, I'm not relying on my dad's company for living anymore. Isn't it what you said? Just take care of yourself first, and let the rest fuck off." That's right, the debts belong to those who owe them. He's an adult now. He needs to learn to clean up his own mess. I hung up the phone feeling pleased, and headed down to the convenience store for a hot pot meal. As soon as I got out of the elevator, I saw a woman waving her phone at the entrance. Our company has electronic access cards on the first floor. Without a card, you can't get in. When the woman saw me, it was like she had found a savior and rushed toward me. Rocky. Looking closely, it turned out to be Alice. I hadn't seen her for over a year, and she had changed quite a bit. Her previously shiny long hair was now short, and it looked much thinner than before. She also seemed to have gained some weight. She grabbed my wrist, pulling me aside. "Rocky, I came to seek your help. I'm begging you, for the sake of our past friendship, friendship. You heard about Haley's brother getting caught gambling, right? That casino is set up by my husband, and I heard you are now very favored by your boss. Could you please ask her brother not to expose my husband? Her eyes were slightly red with tears welling up, but a closer look revealed faint spots and fine lines at the corners. I pulled my hand away. Your husband? Oh, it's that guy from before, right? Isn't he supposed to be capable? She seemed to miss the sarcasm in my tone and explained desperately. He doesn't have money. All the money belongs to his parents. He's not an only child. There's an older brother. If this gets to his parents, he's finished. As she spoke, she squeezed out a couple of tears. I just had a baby. The child is still small for the sake of the child. At that moment, I heard the familiar sound of high heels clicking behind me. Rocky, what are you doing? They've been waiting for you outside for a long time. Oh, who is this big sister? Actually, in terms of age, Haley is slightly older than Alice. Her unkind tone definitely hinted that she figured out Alice's identity from our previous conversation. Alice's expression instantly darkened. The teary look gone. Who are you calling big sister? Can you even speak properly? Haley was dressed particularly brightly today. Her well-maintained face and figure indeed made her look much younger than Alice. She casually hooked her arm with mine, leaning against my shoulder like a little bird. I'm just stating the facts I see. Alice didn't want to entangle with her, giving me an aggrieved look. Rocky, you're not a cold-hearted person. Just help me this once, okay? He certainly isn't cold-hearted, because the most venomous heart belongs to a woman. Haley interjected with a sarcastic remark. This time Alice was completely enraged. Who do you think you are? Do you have any manners, constantly interrupting others? Don't you know who I am? Haley feigned surprise, snapped her fingers, and called over a patrolling security guard. Tell her who I am. The security guard was quite sharp, standing upright, and spoke with a firm voice. You are Haley, the owner of this office building. Alice's eyes widened in shock, and even I was taken aback. I knew she was wealthy, but I didn't expect her to be this rich. I thought our office was rented. Maybe those 2 floors belonged to her, but I never imagined she owned the entire top-tier office building located in a prime area. Haley nodded with satisfaction. Hello, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Haley. Alice looked at Haley's hand resting on my arm. Her expression twisted in disgust. Rocky, you really are quite hypocritical. When I chose to be with Tony, you mocked me for being a gold digger, saying I was disgusting. Now that you're with a rich woman, you turned your back on everyone. Don't you find that disgusting? Do you think this will get back at me? Get back at you? Who do you think you are? To be worth someone's time for revenge? Haley strode around Alice with her long legs, before stopping in front of her. I'm not heartless. If you ask Rocky for help right now, I might lend a hand if he agrees. So Alice turned her head towards me. Rocky, I watched her expression change, more dramatic than a Sichuan opera face change. I said, Alice, you know what field I'm in, right? As a legal professional, how could I break the law? But in the spirit of past friendship, I can give you some advice. If your husband turns himself in now, he might receive a lighter sentence. Alice trembled with rage. Do you understand? If you do, go back and think about it. Haley waved her hand dismissively. Alice stood frozen for a moment, then sneered coldly. Haley, you really have no heart. Your brother gets caught, and you still have the time to flirt with this pretty boy. With you in the H family. What bad luck they have. Haley's family had always been her weak spot. Seeing her face change, I quickly pulled her into my embrace. As the world changed, some people, who only got into high society by getting pregnant, actually looked down on hard-working rich second generations. TSK, the morality of the world is declining. After saying that, I didn't look at her again, and pulled Haley into the elevator. Inside the elevator, Haley kicked my thigh hard. The power of her pointed leather boots was no joke, and I broke out in a cold sweat from the pain. Look at you, so pathetic. Can't even say a few words. You're soft-hearted when you see an old flame, huh? If I had shown up a moment later, would you have agreed to her? I was wronged. I looked up at her. Her small face flushed. She really seemed a bit angry, but how could I read more jealousy in her eyes? What are you staring at? Spit it out. All right, you asked for it. I rubbed my sore thigh. First, I'm not pathetic. I just don't want to argue with a woman, but since you're a woman, it's perfectly fine for you to scold or hit her. I'm silently cheering you on. Second, and this is the most important point, while you can kick me, please pay attention to where you kick. If you mess me up, you'll be the one suffering. She paused for a few seconds, then blushed and kicked me again, but this time she was careful and aimed for my calf. I responded with a feigned ouch, but inside I felt a sweet warmth. Although nobody said it out loud, Haley and I naturally got together. Every night I waited for her to finish work at the convenience store downstairs, then walked her home. The people at the company didn't know, and of course, her family didn't know either. I never asked her about it, nor did I know if she would want to meet my parents if I brought her home. I didn't dare to ask. This feeling was different from when I was with Alice. Back then I had an overwhelming sense of responsibility, thinking that Alice was a good girl and I had to treat her well. But with Haley, what I felt was more fear. How should I put it? Although she was always the one taking the initiative between us, I felt a sense of trepidation, as if I were holding a bomb called loss, which could explode at any moment. Soon the first wave of impact arrived. That day, just before getting off work, I received a text from her, just one sentence. Accompany me home after work today. After reading it, I jumped up from my chair. Was it really that sudden. When I get nervous, my stomach starts to hurt, and while I was in the restroom, I scrolled through my phone. What caught my eye in the trending searches was H. Group's eldest son arrested for gambling. Younger sister deeply ensnared in romantic troubles ignoring her brother. The second trending topic was from the finance section. H. Group stock plummets by 10 by market close. It came with 2 photos, one of Peter wearing a pair of silver bracelets, and another of me and Haley laughing brightly together. The 2 photos side by side showed how the media knew how to stir things up. I had a feeling why she wanted me to accompany her home. It was a trap. Thinking about this made my stomach ache even more. I didn't know how long it had been when Haley shouted for me at the bathroom door. "Rocky, do you need me to fish you out with a dung fork?" I reluctantly walked out and she pinched her nose, then kicked me. "Still dare to say you're not useless. Scared to death just accompanying me home. If you're scared to go, that's fine. I can go back by myself. It's just to confront them. Who said I'm scared? What's the big deal about rich people? Can they swallow me whole?" Her words ignited my temper. Standing at her house, I realized that even in the busy downtown area, there could be such a tranquil and secluded villa. She took my hand, our fingers tightly interlocked, as we made our way to Haley's father's sickbed. Her father's condition was stabilizing. He had just returned home from the hospital and was resting with his eyes closed. Haley's aunt was the first to attack, throwing a financial news report at us. "Look at the mess you've made. Not only have you let down your brother, but now your affair with that pretty boy is in the newspapers." Her aunt probably wanted to say worse things, but with her brother in the room, she muttered angrily, "What a daughter born to a second wife from a lowly background." No matter what she said about me, I could tolerate it, but I couldn't stand her mocking Haley. Just as I was about to speak, Haley stepped forward. "Aunt, my brother has broken the law. How about you teach me how to help him? Also, Rocky is my boyfriend. I specifically brought him here to meet you all today. So if anyone calls him a pretty boy again, don't blame me for being rude." You, her aunt pointed at Haley's nose, shaking with anger. "What about me? I know you have a good relationship with Peter's mom, and before she passed, she entrusted him to you. Look how you've raised him. How dare you blame me? If you really care, why not adopt him as your son?" Her aunt straightened up and shot Haley a glare. "Your dad is ill, and I have no kids. I've always regarded Peter as my own son. Maybe he has been framed. Some people can be ruthless to the point of ignoring blood ties. Oh, since that's the case, could you please repay your son's debts for him?" I pulled out a heap of signed IOUs from my pocket. "If you say he hasn't broken the law, then all of these are just normal debts. Black and white debts must be repaid. It's not much, just a bit over $5 million. Haley looked at me in surprise, not expecting I had gone out of my way to collect these. Her aunt's face turned green, determined to remain defiant. "Who do you think you were to talk here?" Just then Haley's father, who had been silent all along, spoke up. "The reason I called you all here today was to discuss an important matter. Who H Group should be handed over to." He coughed a couple of times and picked up an IOU to glance at it. "Now it seems simple. Brother Peter is the only son of the H family. You can't change your mind. Otherwise, the family business will eventually fall into the hands of outsiders." Now Haley's uncle also chimed in. All the relatives watched me warily. Haley tugged at my hand and turned to leave. "You all can discuss it slowly. I have my own company, and Rocky is very capable. We won't starve without the H family. In that case, fine, H Group will be handed over to Peter." Haley's father's words came from behind us. "I'm old and can't worry about it much longer. Tomorrow I will announce this news through the media." Haley hesitated for a moment. "Everyone here holds company stocks. You can estimate the impact when tomorrow's news comes out." Once her father finished his sentence, the relatives suddenly changed their expressions. Indeed, once news of a prodigal inheriting the family business spreads, I feared the reputation of H Group would be hard to maintain, and the stock's value would likely continue to plummet. Haley had her own career. She had nothing to fear, but her relatives might not be so lucky. Soon some started to change their tunes. "What era is this? Boys and girls are the same. They are both of H family blood." Exactly. Even in ancient times, wise choices were made. Haley is so excellent. Of course the company should be handed over to her for the shareholders' peace of mind. Hearing this, she chuckled, her steps lightened, pulling me as we turned to leave. I originally thought today would be a gathering where I would be surrounded and criticized, so I specially brought evidence of Peter's gambling. My dad isn't someone who values family background. Back then he resisted pressure and divorced his ex-wife, although it was due to emotional discord shortly after the divorce. A major scandal about her family was exposed, leading to their downfall. Thus the H family was deeply aware of the power scandals can have. Now Peter is a scandal machine ready to explode at any moment. By the way, where did those IOUs come from? Did you meet Alice again? She could see right through everything, but Alice willingly provided these to me, saying that as long as I was willing to help, These debts could be written off in one go. Oh, it seems you've agreed to help her. She squinted her narrow eyes, a mischievous expression on her face, with a hint of danger. Of course, I replied, showing a business smile. We're in the business of providing legal assistance to our clients, even though we charge quite a bit. With your family's financial resources, it shouldn't be a problem. As for how Alice understands the word help, I couldn't say. And those debts, they're all from gambling losses. So there's really nothing to repay. You're so bad. Haley laughed and punched me playfully. I seized her fist, pulling her closer. Today, she carried a light blue lambskin bag that looked particularly familiar. That bag looks nice. Is it real? Of course. I felt a warmth in my heart. Are you sure? There are plenty of scammers on secondhand websites. I can get you a new one. She fell into my embrace and looked up at me, her eyes sparkling. Hasn't anyone told you about social etiquette? I asked her with a frown. What? She kept blinking her large eyes. When you kiss, you should close your eyes. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.